Thank you for inviting me this afternoon to give this, it's an honor. I would like to talk about individual initiative and its effects on the life of an individual, a community, and a nation. This beautiful sports park is an example of individual initiative turning into community initiative. It is proof that with a can-do attitude, anything is possible. I don't know why it is, but ever since I can remember, I have loved the sound of music. My father is a lyricist, my mother is a professional singer and a violinist. My great-uncle was an incredibly talented musician. I seem to think and breathe music. Sometimes I hear the music in my head, and I can't wait to go down to the piano to play it. But it just hasn't been a walk in the park. Having the ability to play or compose music is a God-given ability. But while God shows you the door, you must grasp the handle and pull it as hard as you can to open that door. When I was young, I had a good old time making up songs and playing with music as I would a game. As the years went on, however, I was forced to practice, because if I didn't practice, well, my teachers would be mad at me. Practicing new songs is still hard for me today. Just the thought of having to learn something more difficult and having to play it over and over again is unpleasant. Yet my teachers and parents have taught me the benefits of applying myself. There are a lot of times when I just can't play a certain part in a song because my fingers won't do it or my brain won't let me do it. But I tell myself that I know the notes, but I just can't put my fingers down and play them. Not long ago, I had one particular song that was really bothering me. I was so furious that I was almost ready to get up and never sit back down at the piano bench ever again. I ended up calming myself down and practicing that song piece by piece, one note at a time. After a long time, I must have played that song 50 to 100 times over and over again. And finally, I was able to play it right. The one thing that I learned from this is to never give up, and that practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. We are blessed because America is a nation where if you put your shoulder to the grindstone, you can see the rewards of your efforts. You can do anything you put your mind to, because in this wonderful country of ours, it gives us that freedom. Thanks to the men and women who have sacrificed and are currently sacrificing so that the rest of us can enjoy that freedom. It was this kind of initiative that beat in the hearts of the brave soldiers that stopped the Nazis in their tracks during World War II. It is true that none of us would be here if the Allies had not brought down Hitler and his Nazi regime. This is a lesson of appreciation I have been taught all my life, because when my great-grandfather lived in Poland at the age of 13, he came face to face with the government that denied him all liberty, including the right to be alive. My great-grandfather and his family were deemed unworthy of the new order because of their religion. And so he and his family were lined up against a wall by the pogrom, part of Hitler's army, like the SS in Germany. The pogrom's orders were to shoot, to kill. As my great-grandfather and his family stood against that wall, ready to be shot, an opportunity opened up for them to escape. They turned and climbed over that wall and ran to safety, and eventually to the freedom of America. Can you imagine how intensely grateful this family was to see the Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island coming closer and closer on the horizon, and then to step onto American soil for the first time, and knowing that the nightmare of the pogrom was behind them. With no money in their pockets, my great-grandfather and his family had to start from scratch. He had a never-give-up attitude, a hopeful spirit, and most of all, he had something worth striving for, something worth dying for, freedom. Hitler had invaded Poland at the onset of World War II. After Hitler's defeat, the communists came in, claiming they were freeing the Poles, but instead they brought a new oppression, communism. Both Hitler and Stalin needed walls to keep their countrymen in line. Reagan said that in 1983, that communism needed walls to keep people in and armies of secret police to keep them quiet. Freedom does not require such walls. Reagan confronted communism for the evil that it was. His famous words, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall," were instrumental in bringing down the Berlin Wall, which divided the city into two parts, free and communist. I was fortunate enough to live minutes away from the Ronald Reagan Library when I was younger. There, I was able to get as close as inches away from a huge chunk of the wall that had divided East and West Berlin. As I scanned the wall as a boy, I couldn't fully appreciate what it meant. All I saw at the time was a giant piece of concrete with a lot of graffiti on it. It wasn't until later that I realized many people died trying to climb this wall in an attempt to escape to freedom. I realized that this wall stood for evil, for political and religious oppression, very much like the one that my great-grandfather had climbed over. In Reagan's own words, freedom is a fragile thing. Americans must envision liberty and will be willing to pay a price to preserve it. There was a wall between my great-grandfather and freedom, yet he chose to climb it. There was a wall between East and West Berlin, yet Ronald Reagan chose to confront it. If individuals envision this kind of freedom my great-grandfather hoped for and Ronald Reagan inspired, then think what can be done with this can-do spirit. God bless America.